then finally, and this will become a thread as I talk through to the end of my presentation, can you prove your logs are valid to a third party? In open banking, that's actually critical. There are already disputes being raised with the FCA and Pay UK authorities in the UK. This will become a more regular part of the environment as people complain about service quality, as they try and defend themselves from their customers being upset, or they're just angry with how banks are offering a service to them. You need to check everything end to end from where your customers are and monitor like you might have to prove it in court, because in open banking, there's a possibility you might just have to. The other issue you have is, what do you do in the environment where both sides can bring receipts to prove the other might be incorrect? And honestly, the truth might lie in the middle. It could be that there is something that's down to a third-party dependent service in the cloud host itself that is causing both of the institutions to have problems. These are things you need to understand, you need to be able to protect yourself from, and you need to be able to communicate and articulate to your end users and your customers. And it's something that we've really been brought home to us with the other aspect of monitoring that I come on to, which is, at the end of the day, everybody lies. I'm going to quote my favorite television doctor, Gregory House, on this, but everybody does lie. Everything lies, and HTTP codes in particular, which are the bedrock of a lot of DevOps engineering teams, lie more than others. So first of all, they don't tell the whole story. There's a lot of reliance on, if a HTTP code is 200, it's all okay. It's literally in the response of the API. But what if it's not? What if there's nothing in that API call? It says it's passed, but it hasn't returned you, for example, a failure we see all the time with large banking institutions. You ask for a list of transactions or you ask for an account list. If that account list is empty, but you've got a 200, your application will be looking for something that doesn't exist. But if you're relying on the 200 being a pass and a check mark that everything worked, you will not see that. If I flip that around, there is a tendency among a lot of engineering groups to ignore HTTP 400 errors. It's a client error. Somebody made a mistake. It could be credentials. A resource isn't there. It's usually assumed that the API call itself has made a mistake. But what if it hasn't? What if your security has gone wrong and it's not using a valid authenticator, it's not using a valid OAuth token? What if there is something else not functionally working the way you expect it to, even though in theory the 400 is the correct result? If you're just looking at the HTTP codes, you will not see the whole picture. The reason why people use HTTP codes and don't look beyond them is volume. If you're running tens of millions of transactions a day, there physically isn't enough compute power in the known universe that's economically available to you to check every single result in real time without pulling your services down to a crawl. But that's where synthetic transactions on your production environment become very powerful. You can check every synthetic result. You can do post analysis overnight. You can actually produce information that you can use to prove to a third party or a governance group inside your own entity that you are at least checking to see for these problems. And honestly, if you start checking for them, you will probably be slightly horrified and surprised at what you see.